This is an institutional marketplace today. So major insurance companies in this space include names like Prudential, Excelis, Pacific Life, Zurich, Crown Global, and Investors Preferred. So it is a very established marketplace. Clients who purchase these structures, technically they have to qualify as an accredited investor and qualified purchaser. So even if we look at the more conservative definition, a qualified client should have a net worth of $5 million or more of investable assets. So this isn't a product that's available to every investor or end client today, but for the right client, it can be a very powerful tool on their balance sheet, especially if they allocate to tax and efficient asset classes or strategies.
Hey everybody, welcome to CBS Spotlight. If you are here by mistake, you're in the right place now. I'm Eric Alvarado, and today I am joined by a very special guest host, Mr. Jack Gelder, who is head of advanced sales here at CBS Brokerage. Jack, welcome.
Thank you, Eric.
And we are your friendly guides to the world of insurance and wealth management. And today we're joined by the Chief Marketing Officer for Spearhead Administrative Services, Mr. David Reynolds. David, welcome. And did I miss anything?
Hey, gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here. No, you pretty much hit on it. I work for a company called Spearhead Admin Services. We're a third-party administrator within the private placement insurance marketplace. So in our role, we partner with RIAs and asset management firms, as well as the various insurance companies that issue contracts in this marketplace. And we make the process simple and efficient for RIAs and asset management firms to lift up how they manage either bespoke portfolios or fund structures and make them available to clients. And we enable them to manage assets for clients through private placement markets specifically. So more broadly, we work with over 50 RIA and asset management platforms across the US, and we administer solutions on over 10 insurance company platforms. So happy to share a little more insight about what we do and how these products work.
Beautiful. Yeah, and I think that's why part of the reason why we asked you on today is to help us really demystify the topic of private placement insurance, just because I feel like it gets a lot of misunderstanding throughout the industry. So Jack, when you are ready, let's go ahead and fire away with our first question.
Great. So David, on the topic of playing Mythbusters a little bit, can you first just kind of lay the groundwork for those unfamiliar with PPVUL? Can you explain what it is and how it differs from a traditional life insurance product?
Absolutely. So PPVUL, or private placement variable universal life, oftentimes more broadly referred to as PPLI, or private placement life insurance. This is similar to other traditional variable life insurance contracts that listeners are likely familiar with. I mean, PPLI under code section 7702 of the Internal Revenue Code, it qualifies as life insurance, just like other traditional variable life insurance contracts like IUL or GUL. But how does it differ from more traditional or retail life insurance products? There's really like three main things that I would define. First of all, these are segregated account insurance products. Now, what does that mean? It means when a client funds one of these contracts with cash premiums to an insurance company, those premium dollars drop into a segregated account that's unique to that client-specific policy. So it's considered segregated from every other policy issued by that insurance company, and also segregated from the general assets and liabilities of the carrier. So God forbid, if an insurance company in the space were to go bankrupt or go out of business, the creditors of the carrier technically can't penetrate the assets inside the policy account. Number two, these products are institutionally priced. And when I say institutionally priced, I mean a lot of the fees and costs that you associate with traditional retail insurance contracts have been wrung out of these contracts. So with PPLI specifically, the average long-term carrying cost of the structure will average less than 1% per annum. And that includes compensation paid to the insurance company, as well as the insurance agent, as well as other reinsurance partners on that policy. And with private placement variable annuity, the variable annuity version of this structure, the average carrying cost will average about 50 basis points per year over the long term. So think of this as a low-cost life insurance or variable annuity chassis, where all the fees and costs associated with the product are disclosed upfront to the client when they purchase the contract. So a client can very clearly see how much is the insurance company and the agent getting paid inside the contract, how much is the financial advisor or asset manager that's managing the dollars being paid, et cetera. And finally, these products are unique in that they offer a flexible investment chassis. So through the contract, the client can direct their dollars into either an approved separate managed account or a commingled insurance dedicated fund, which has been pre-approved by the insurance company. And potential investments could include like liquid markets investments. So think stocks, bonds, ETFs, mutual funds, treasuries, as well as alternative investments, things like private credit, private equity, hedge funds, secondaries, co-investments, et cetera. So it offers a ton of investment flexibility for clients that desire tax efficient growth of assets inside of that contract. A couple things I would add. This is an institutional marketplace today. So major insurance companies in this space include names like Prudential, Excellus, Pacific Life, Zurich, Crown Global, and Investors Preferred. So it is a very established marketplace. And I would also add, clients who purchase these structures, technically they have to qualify as an accredited investor and qualified purchaser. So even if we look at the more conservative definition, a qualified client should have a net worth of $5 million or more of investable assets. So this isn't a product that's available to every investor or end client today, but for the right client, it can be a very powerful tool on their balance sheet, especially if they allocate to tax inefficient asset classes or strategies. So the product minimums for PPLI and PPVA will vary by insurance company, but generally speaking, for PPLI, a client should be comfortable committing at least $2 million in aggregate premiums into a contract. And with private placement variable annuity, PPVA, product minimums are generally $500K or more per client. I would submit from a practical perspective, a client could be a candidate for PPLI or PPVA if they have a net worth of 20 to 30 million or more of investable assets, where they're comfortable, allocating a minority of their overall, investable cash into a contract. So in practice, we might see a client allocate, let's say 10 to 20% of their investable cash into a PPLI contract, with the thought process being these are dollars that are earmarked to compound efficiently over the long term. Perhaps they're earmarked to pass to next generation. If a client has done more complex trust planning and pushed assets out of their estate, likewise, these structures can be useful as a tool to compound those dollars more efficiently on a income tax deferred basis through the contract. And then in the case of PPLI, likewise, the client gets the equivalent of that step up in basis upon death, where all assets inside the contract distribute income tax free upon their passing. So separate managed accounts, if an RIA wants to build a separate managed account program in this marketplace, practically speaking, they need an initial client with 5 million or more of commitments to a policy. And at that stage, assuming that the RIA ticks all the boxes of the insurance company, and we have confidence the RIA will get approved to have their SMA program onboarded with that carrier, that's generally a good starting point. Once that SMA program is established and approved by a carrier, some carriers will allow us to launch SMAs at smaller dollar amounts. So even a 500, and every carrier in this space is slightly different. Some carriers will enable SMAs for smaller size policies, a 500K annuity or a $2 million PPLI. Other carriers have more hard minimums of 5 million of commitments to the policy. And that's part of our job at Spearhead is really to help RIAs and asset managers, as well as insurance producers that are selling these products, to navigate the marketplace properly and build that solution and deliver that solution to the client in a way that meets their needs and objectives. So as the policy owner of a contract, the policy owner has two options in how the segregated account assets inside their contract can be invested. First of all, policy owner can pick and choose from approved funds that have been due diligence and approved by the insurance company and are offered by the insurance company's in-house menu of available investment options. So those are oftentimes referred to as insurance dedicated funds, which are typically like alternatives focused investment funds. So it might be a a fund that a private credit manager or a hedge fund has created. And IDFs, technically speaking, they're segregated funds that an asset manager has created that oftentimes mimic or invest, closely pari passu existing fund structures that they oversee. But the IDF has to be a separate commingled vehicle that can only accept investments through insurance contracts on behalf of policy owner clients. There are also mutual fund equivalents of IDFs called variable insurance trusts, which likewise clients can allocate to. In lieu of fund structures, clients can also allocate through what are called separate managed accounts, which are more bespoke portfolios managed by the client's desired investment advisor or asset manager. SMAs we've seen are very much a growing marketplace within the private placement insurance marketplace more broadly. An increasing number of insurance companies are offering these. And the advantage of an SMA is that it allows individual customization of that portfolio by the advisor on behalf of that particular policy. And so oftentimes we'll build an SMA program with an RIA, and the RIA may have a broad swath of clients where PPLI makes sense. And oftentimes the advisor likes the SMA approach because it gives them more ability to customize that portfolio on a client by client basis and manage the assets through a custody account, which really looks and feels just like other accounts that they manage for clients. The main consideration that clients have to have as it relates to IDF and SMA investing is a rule called investor control, which states that a client can select the specific investment advisor. They can also agree on a broad-based investment mandate for that IDF or SMA solution. And then once that solution has been approved by the insurance company, client funds their policy and those dollars drop into that IDF or SMA. From that point forward, discretion of that IDF or SMA has to be controlled 100% by that asset manager or advisor. So a client's not allowed to make specific instruction as it relates to specific securities or assets that IDF or SMA acquires. So long story short,
you're really getting at one of the big myths, which is, can I put my business in a private placement, or can I put my RSUs in a private placement? And that's a myth that comes up for us. And we always point back to that investor control doctrine.
That's correct. So the Internal Revenue Code affords a tremendous amount of tax benefit for clients to utilize these structures, but clients have to give up something at the end of the day, and that's investment discretion inside of the SMA or IDF. Now, I'll posit after a client funds one of these contracts, if they wake up at some day in the future and they say, hey, I want to change this investment mandate inside my policy, or I want to reallocate out of my existing IDFs or my SMA to a different constellation of IDFs or an SMA, they can do that. It's as simple as instructing the insurance company and essentially reallocating those dollars inside the policy. And so that rebalancing or reallocating can be done without tax consequence inside the contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's kind of the whole thing. Like when I think of a buy and hold client, I think private placement's not necessarily the right avenue because they're not churning income taxes. Like you just talked about rebalancing, and that churns income taxes. Well, great benefit of the PPLI is it's wrapped up in an income tax-free wrapper. So part of that matching the client objectives with the product. Don't you agree?
I agree 100%. I think the beauty of PPLI and PPVA is that the client has the advantage of tax deferral inside that contract. In the case of PPLI, potential income tax elimination if that product is held until death. So as a result, most clients we see will treat PPLI or PPVA as an asset location. Well, they'll desire exposures to like tax inefficient asset classes or portfolios that may be heavier turnover, where income taxes are especially dilutive against their net returns, where a client realizes going in, hey, I'm going to pay a minimal amount of insurance cost associated with this insurance product. So think of that as almost like a toll charge for accessing the product, but I'm trading that insurance cost for what I would otherwise pay in income taxes on the growth of these assets. And so a lot of thought should go in by a client. Hey, what kinds of investments or strategies do I desire inside this contract? And is that trade-off or arbitrage meaningful enough where it makes sense to fund PPLI or PPVA?
100% agree. It's a math equation. It's not a hard one necessarily. You're trading insurance charges for income tax, capital gain drag, but you got to see you have to confirm the insurance charges are you put you in a better spot than the tax drag.
That's right.
Last question. This has been great, David. Thank you very much. Last question is, I wanted to ask you about your firm. How do you all work with and provide education to and transparency? Like my experience is that RIAs getting into this space need a lot of coaching, development, and help. What's it like for an RIA that's getting into private placement if they're working with Spearhead?
Sure. I would think of Spearhead as kind of like the RIA's consigliere or shaman in entering this marketplace. I know in entering PPLI and PPVA, in interfacing with various insurance producers, various insurance companies, this may be a foreign space for a lot of RIAs. And so our job is really to work with that RIA as well as the insurance producers that they're partnered with, educate them on what their options are, what's sort of the art of the possible for them to achieve in this marketplace, and then build either that SMA program or insurance dedicated fund so it really fits the needs and the business model of that RIA or asset manager. I think Spearhead, we're consultative in our approach. As a team, we've also been building solutions in this space for over a decade, dating back to our predecessor firm. So we've experienced a lot of the headaches and pitfalls that RIAs would normally experience if they were to enter this marketplace, but we can leverage that experience as well as our network more broadly in the space to ensure, think of it as like a smooth landing of the plane. So if an RIA wants to enter this space, they want to offer these solutions to their clients, we can help facilitate that and really make the process as simple and efficient as we can so that they can enter into this marketplace and use this as a tool with their clients.
And I can echo that in working with Spearhead. Very easy to work with and understand that a lot of times their audience needs that education to get them up to speed. They have an idea like, hey, my clients are asking about it. I think I know what it is. They've read some articles, but there's a lot that goes into it. And Spearhead is like, sometimes it's like, you see a duck cruise across the pond and it doesn't look like they're working at all, but underneath those flippers are going crazy. That's kind of how I see you all in this space.
That's right. And I just add, we're in constant communication with the major insurance companies in this marketplace, major insurance producer groups, as well as industry regulatory bodies more broadly within life insurance. So we're staying abreast of latest notifications, latest best practices. So we want our clients to be successful in this space, and the only way to do that is to build these structures correctly. And so we're trying to make that as simple and efficient as possible for our clients.
Could not agree more. Most of the inquiries we get would not fly, right? And so doing it the right way is critical. So,
yep.
You guys are doing great work, and we enjoy working with you when appropriate.
Got to have the right guide for sure.
So, Eric, do you want to add anything before we close things out?
No, that's great, very informative stuff. I really appreciate it. David, that was great stuff, and I really, really appreciate you jumping in and offering your valuable insight. I definitely feel a little bit more knowledgeable about the subject now, and definitely know that where I need to go to reach out to have the right guide with me. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that before we close out today?
I think we pretty much hit on it. I think at Spearhead, a lot of what we do is education focused. So, to the extent that firms in your universe have questions about these structures, just want to learn more about the marketplace, we're always happy to hop on a call and be a resource and kind of give them a lay of the land.
Beautiful. Excellent. Well, for everyone out there, I am Eric Alvarado with Jack Elder, and this has been CBS Spotlight, your friendly conversation about insurance and wealth advising come together. Thanks for tuning in, and if you found this helpful, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you so much.